tonight on CBC Vancouver News. BC gets 2 out of 5 projects the Prime Minister calls nation building. What are they and how will they help? Plus, tussle of 2 Langleys.
Really what we're seeing is politicians in Langley City trying to justify, why Langley City should exist.
I'm not gonna, kowtow just because there's someone who's larger than us that wants something.
Why mayors are facing off over the future of their communities. And
this whale was a handful, very mobile. It's always very dangerous, so we took our time.
Rescuers free a humpback whale in BC entangled for 2 weeks.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Hello, I'm Dan Burritt. Thanks for joining us. BC is home to 2 of the 5 so-called nation-building projects the Prime Minister has now officially unveiled. One is a mine, the other a massive LNG terminal. Mira Baines reports on the process, the projects, and concerns about the future.
Prime Minister Mark Carney says 5 major projects are aimed at turbocharging the country's economy.
We will build with Canadian steel, Canadian lumber, Canadian aluminum, and by Canadian tradespeople and engineers.
They include Phase 2 of LNG Canada in Kitimat, doubling its production of liquefied natural gas to make it the 2nd largest facility of its kind in the world, and the expansion of the Red Chris mine, which extracts copper and gold in northwestern BC.
I am proud that 40% of the projects listed by the federal government on their priority project list today are British Columbia projects.
In February, EB announced the province would fast-track 18 resource-based projects. EB is heading to Ottawa next week to discuss how to get them to completion and attempt to add other BC projects to the list.
We can do more. We can do it faster.
To do that, the federal government is streamlining regulatory approval to help secure funding and cut red tape. Carney said projects will receive some federal dollars, but expected to attract private sector investment as well.
The government is referring them to the Major Projects Office to be shepherded across the finish line.
Still, there are environmental concerns over potential projects yet to be added.
Oil pipeline would be a different thing, and I actually think would be a risk to everything in this project if they were starting to push those really contentious and politically challenging projects.
Some First Nations groups say that while the current list of projects has gotten First Nations approvals, the same can't be said for others.
The concern is future projects, including really the push for a northern diluted bitumen pipeline.
The federal government says the next list of major projects to be fast-tracked will be released by mid-November, or as the Prime Minister put it, by the time of the Grey Cup. Mira Baines, CBC News, Vancouver.
Meanwhile, Premier Eby is touting the planned merger of Vancouver-based Teck Resources with British multinational Anglo American in a deal said to be worth $70 billion.
The marriage of these 2 companies and the fact that the newlyweds will be making their home here in British Columbia means the largest company in the history of British Columbia is putting their headquarters in our province. And it also means that our province is recognized internationally as a hub for mining.
Eby spoke at Teck's Highland Valley Copper Mine near Logan Lake. It's Canada's largest, and the province has approved it for a $2 billion extension. Eby says that will create 2,000 high-paying jobs. It's one of 18 resource projects in BC the government said it would fast-track in order to reduce trade reliance on the U.S. Homicide investigators are naming a man killed in what they believe is a targeted shooting in Burnaby on Wednesday. The Integrated Homicide Investigation Team is identifying the victim as 34-year-old Shahaib Abbasi. They say the shooting is linked to BC's ongoing gang conflict. Mounties responded to multiple reports of shots fired near Still Creek Avenue and Still Creek Drive just before 5:30 p.m. They say Abbasi was dead by the time they arrived. iHit says the victim was known to police.
It's obviously clear that those responsible for this shooting had absolutely no regard for public safety or the community, and that's why we are asking and urging anybody that has information on this homicide or anybody that was in the area that might have witnessed it to contact IHIT.
Shortly after discovering the victim, Mounties received a report of a burning white Mitsubishi RVR near Nursery Street and Lakefield Drive, not far from the shooting. Investigators are asking anyone who saw that vehicle before or after the killing to contact them. A Vancouver judge has now ruled that a publication ban will remain in effect on information presented during this week's hearing into the mental fitness of the man accused of the Lapu Lapu Day Festival tragedy. Judge Reginald Harris acknowledges the intense public interest surrounding the case, but worries sharing private information about the accused could set a precedent and jeopardize future proceedings. Kaiji Adam Lowe has now been, though, found mentally fit to stand trial in the alleged car ramming attack which killed 11 people. He's charged with 11 counts of second-degree murder and 31 counts of attempted murder. The province is intensifying its push to train nurse practitioners. It has announced funding for 65 new training seats to try to cut healthcare barriers around the province. The new seats will be spread out, with 30 at UBC, 20 at the University of Northern BC, and 15 at UVic. In this province, nurse practitioners and doctors can both provide primary care, that includes prescribing medication, as well as referring patients.
For these new seats, the government is providing $4.7 million annually, building on a $1 million annual investment that was a part of our budget 2021, and $2 million in expansions that began in 2018.
178 new nurse practitioners were registered in BC last year. Still, the province says more are needed, which is why it's launched this aggressive marketing campaigns to try to attract talent from the U.S., like California and Washington, and even as far away as the U.K. Darius Madavi here with a first look at the weather. What's going on out there?
Well, tomorrow our thunderstorm risk has shrunk down to just this corner of the province, and although mostly the lightning today was confined down south of the border, we have seen some sneak up into the Kootenays already, so expect more of that tomorrow. This is a problem because down in that southeastern corner of the province is the area across southern BC that has the highest fire danger still, although we are seeing that climb down in other areas in the south as well. This yellow area was much larger earlier. We'll talk more about that later in the show. Other than that, no watches or warnings in place across BC. Things remain relatively calm, except for that smoke that we're seeing across the central interior, so air quality statements still in place as a result.
Okay, Darius, thanks very much.
Thank you.
We have an update on a story we brought you earlier this week. The BC GEU says it has agreed that meat inspectors are to be deemed essential workers, but says it's now up to the government to designate them as such. That union strike does continue. Meat inspectors make sure animals are healthy before they're killed and meat is safe to eat. During the pandemic, they were designated essential workers. In an email, BC GEU President Paul Finch writes that inspectors, quote, could resume their duties as quickly as government allows. Some BC beef ranchers and farmers say they felt caught in the labor dispute and feared a big loss in income. A new political party has been registered in the city of Langley. The person behind it, though, is the mayor of the neighboring township of Langley. Justin McElroy explains why Eric Woodward has taken such a keen interest in the city and what his rival mayor is saying in return.
The Langleys. There are two of them in Metro Vancouver, a city and a township, and we may be on the verge of the war of the Langleys.
Politicians in the city of Langley need the city of Langley to exist so they can be politicians. They wouldn't last 10 minutes in the township.
That is Township Mayor Eric Woodward. His political party, Progress for Langley, has registered for next year's local elections in the city of Langley. He told the local paper he thinks the city is poorly governed, and he says he wants to start a conversation over whether the number of Langleys should be cut in half.
Ultimately, what I'd like to start having the greater Langley area talk about, are we being well served with two municipalities? And I don't believe we are.
But let's back up. What are the two Langleys? Why are there two Langleys? And what's really behind this beef? For many decades, there was only one Langley. Then, a neighborhood in it turned into a little town center. They wanted streetlights, the farmers and the rest of Langley said no, and so the town center voted to become its own municipality. The two Langleys share a name and a border, but there are differences between them. The city is smaller, denser, and less affluent. But Township Mayor Eric Woodward is focusing on a different stat, the city's higher crime rate.
are paying for a lot of subsidization of Langley City public safety, but we don't have control over the decision making.
Woodward said it was a reason the township ended the joint RCMP policing agreement they had with the city. He says this isn't a hostile takeover attempt, but he says that with the township now so urbanized, it's worth having a political party see if there's demand for a more streamlined approach.
Really what we're seeing is politicians in Langley City trying to justify, why Langley City should exist.
Not surprisingly, the mayor of Langley City sees it a bit differently.
I'm going to stand up for Langley City as well, right? I'm not going to, kowtow just because there's someone who's larger than us that wants something.
Nathan Pahal points out that Langley City's crime severity index has been cut in half in 2 years. And he argues there is one particular reason Woodward is musing about a merger.
But I think really what this boils down to at the end of the day, I've been on the record of wanting revenue from the Cascades Casino. And I know that the township of Langley is one of the highest debt levels in the province right now.
Woodward denies this is about the city's casino revenue, saying that the $7 or $8 million a year it provides would be marginal to the township. But it is true that Langley Township has debt. Here is a chart. In 2024, the township already had the third most municipal debt in the province, while the city sits 60th overall. And the township has approved almost $500 million more in the years to come for all sorts of amenities. Incidentally, Langley Township has a by-election next month, and it is turning into a referendum on Woodward's approach. Put another way, if Woodward is to start the War of the Langleys, he has to first consolidate support on the home front. Justin.
And that is not the only conflict the mayor of Langley Township is caught up in. It's now been revealed Eric Woodward is taking legal action against past and present political opponents in a defamation lawsuit. Justin McElroy here with us. Justin, who is he suing and why?
Dan, this is a messy case that has been going through the BC Supreme Court for several months, but it was just last week that a number of the names that Woodward is suing became public, and they are some heavy hitters in Langley politics. Chief among them, Rich Coleman, the longtime BC Liberal cabinet minister. He ran against Woodward for the mayor of Langley Township in 2022, lost. Woodward is alleging that he is behind a campaign of Facebook groups and posts that have been critical of him, particularly one that he argues is defamatory over the township choosing a certain contractor for fire equipment in the millions of dollar ranges. He says that the allegations in those posts and videos hurt his reputation, hurt the city's reputation, townships, I should say. And he said even though there's a risk of what happens when a sitting politician sues their political opponents, that there was too much there for him not to stand up.
It was just not acceptable that these kinds of accusations would be made anonymously and advertised throughout our community. Essentially lying to our residents, those posts are not factual in our opinion. Obviously to be tested in court, they contained a number of claims that are quite serious and posted anonymously and advertised on multiple platforms throughout our community with what I would see as clear intent. You just can't allow that to stand.
Also named in the lawsuit is Kim Richter, a sitting councillor who Woodward alleges was in conversations with Coleman about this group. A number of developers, one person that has had legal action against the township on a couple of occasions during Woodward's reign. There's been a lot of tensions in the township over the past few years. This isn't going to make any of that any less stressful, but it will reveal some of these conversations. And Woodward believes at the end of it that he will be vindicated. Of course, the public might think that this is just another series of dramatic situations that have occurred under his reign.
And what don't we know about this case and what comes next?
Well, we don't know exactly who exactly created these videos that Woodward argues are defamatory. He's mentioned in his lawsuit the organizations that he believes is behind the funding of them, as well as people like Richter who have shared these videos, but it's still uncertain exactly who was doing the actual creating and disseminating of them. As terms of what comes next, there's another court case in a couple weeks' time where this will keep going. The defendants in this have not put forward their own counterclaim yet. Nothing in the allegations has been proven, so there's a lot of time to go. A lot of time to go until the next election in the township of Langley. But again, things have been tense there for a while. This is only going to make things tenser.
Justin McElroy, thanks very much.
Thanks, Dan.
Did you know there's a pink bin to go along with your blue recycling bin? It's for flexible plastics and only available for now in a few cities. We'll have more on the push to recycle more of those materials here in Metro Vancouver coming up. The agency behind BC's recycling system hopes you can do more to keep plastics out of landfills or ending up as litter. The good news is that almost 100% of residential plastic packaging that ends up in blue boxes is recycled. The bad news, as Chad Pawson explains, is that only 45% of those materials get to the right place.
A crush of plastics arriving at a recovery facility in Richmond. Some of the more than 30,000 tons put in blue boxes or dropped off at depots by residents each year. It gets separated and sorted over and over until bales of like with like are made ready to be turned into new products. It's a circular, producer-funded system BC is a world leader in.
There's been a lot of hesitancy around recycling, but our model proves that you can have a system that responsibly manages and recycles this plastics.
The recovery of plastics could be much better, though, compared to materials like glass or paper. Less than half of the rigid and flexible plastics residents use ends up being diverted and recycled, with the recovery of plastic bags and wrapping trailing far behind plastic containers.
There's those that do have that apathy and don't know what happens or are misinformed about what happens to their material once it goes into the blue bin. And those are the stories and dynamics we're trying to change.
What it's up against, in part, is convenience. Things like plastic bags need to be brought to special depots like these recycling kiosks at London Drugs. The company says it wants to help residents deal with the packaging the products it sells comes in.
London Drugs recognises that we put a lot of material out into the market, so we only feel right that we are responsible for taking some of that material back.
Recycle BC says removing barriers in the recycling of plastics is what's needed to improve the system, especially for plastic bags and overwrap. In January, Recycle BC launched a pink box. It's for flexible plastics and goes alongside the well-known blue box for rigid plastics. The pink box removes the need to take pesky bags and wrappers somewhere else.
I'm one of those people that will go out of my way to recycle every last bit of plastic, and I was even going to my workplace. And so now having this available at my curbside has just been a game changer for me.
West Vancouver and Maple Ridge are currently offering pink boxes, with more cities coming online in the year ahead, says Recycle BC. In the meantime, it's hoping for a renewed effort from residents in the diversion of these materials to greatly reduce the amount that isn't being recycled. Chad Pawson, CBC News, Richmond.
We have some amazing images to show you of a humpback whale freed after being tangled up in fishing gear off the BC coast. Yasmin Khanea shows us the long and very delicate job of helping him escape.
It was a complex 3-day mission freeing Tutu, the humpback whale.
This whale was a handful, very mobile. It's always very dangerous, so we took our time.
The whale, about 5 years old and 9 meters long, was first spotted near one of BC's Gulf Islands, trailing nearly 140 meters of fishing gear. It took days for the Department of Fisheries and Oceans and other rescuers to free Tutu because he kept moving. From near Tuxedo Island to Comox, then toward Campbell River, at least 80 kilometers. Rescuers put a satellite tag on one of the fishing lines to track him. Removing the gear, they had to be meticulous.
And you have to be careful. So we made sure that we were doing it with minimal impact to the animal.
On the third day of the rescue mission, the whale freed himself of the remaining gear. DFO believes he was entangled for up to 2 weeks and could have suffered serious consequences.
It's always a risk of eventually causing an infection. And definitely the animal's ability to forage would have been restricted considerably. So the impact on the animal over time, depending on how long it was on, could have killed the animal.
Experts say debris is a huge problem for marine life.
It's such a significant concern on our coast, with our research supporting that about half the humpbacks have scarring from entanglement. How many are dead at the bottom of the ocean? We don't know.
Tutu is expected to live a healthy life. Properly disposing of fishing gear could be life-saving for all whales. Yasmin Khanea, CBC News, Vancouver.
A warm late summer day in Kamloops where temperatures hit the high 20s. Darius has your BC-wide forecast next. Canadians and Americans gathered at the Peace Arch crossing today to mark 24 years since the 9/11 attacks in the United States. Despite lingering trade tensions, U.S. and Canadian service members marched together in a show of unity that included customs officials and New York police. At least 24 Canadians were among the almost 3,000 people killed on September 11, 2001, when al-Qaeda operatives crashed hijacked passenger jets into the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and into an empty field in Pennsylvania.
At a time when it would have been easy to despair about man's seemingly endless capacity for cruelty and violence, we instead witnessed the unbridled kindness of our neighbors to the north. It was a fitting example of what makes the U.S.-Canada alliance and friendship so special.
158 Canadian Armed Forces members were later killed in Afghanistan as part of the U.S.-led war on terror. Nearly 2,500 American soldiers were killed there during its two-decade involvement, America's longest foreign war. In 2021, the Taliban retook power in Afghanistan after a stunning advance. The killing of right-wing political commentator Charlie Kirk has left many Americans, from the White House on down, shocked, shaken, and bitterly divided. Katie Simpson has the latest on the investigation.
Police scour the neighborhood where the suspect was last seen.
They're actively searching,
urgently looking for any new information. Police scour the neighborhood where the suspect was last seen.
They're actively searching,
urgently looking for any new information about the gunman on the loose, releasing photos of a person of interest describing him as college-aged, saying he blended into the crowd at Utah Valley University.
We have tracked his movements onto the campus, through the stairwells, up to the roof, across the roof to a shooting location.
In the panicked moments after Charlie Kirk was shot, smartphone video captured new clues. In this short clip, you can see what appears to be someone on that roof running away. Authorities say the gunman fled, ditching his weapon, which is now in their possession.
It is a high-powered bolt-action rifle. Investigators have also collected footwear impression, a palm print, and forearm imprints for analysis.
Kirk is survived by his wife and two young children. The controversial political activist embraced far-right beliefs.
And I was basically outlining what are biblical principles for a marriage straight from Scripture. And I said, wives, submit to your husbands.
So against the natural law, and dare I say, a throbbing middle finger to God, is the transgender thing happening in America right now.
He is being remembered as a leader within the MAGA movement.
Charlie, we love you. We know that you have heard the Lord's words.
President Donald Trump personally offered condolences to the family.
I spoke to Erica, his wife, and we had a long talk, and she's devastated. She is absolutely devastated.
And the vice president flew to Utah to personally escort Kirk's casket back to the family home in Arizona. Small vigils popped up across the U.S., including outside the hospital where he died.
No one can tell you what you can or can't believe, and the fact that Charlie Kirk had to die because of his beliefs is just truly heartbreaking.
At his office, where he led his political advocacy work in Arizona, and in California at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library. Some of Kirk's supporters are still trying to process what's happened.
It's heartbreaking. Even if it's not unity in our ideas, we need to find unity that we're all Americans and that we're all people.
Katie Simpson reporting, and apologies for those technical glitches. In the wake of Charlie Kirk's death, there's not just sorrow, but dread. As Paul Hunter shows us, if Kirk was killed for his politics, he wasn't the first. And the fear is he will not be the last.
In Minnesota in June, a former Democratic state Speaker of the House shot to death along with her husband. In Pennsylvania in April, at the residence of Democratic Governor Josh Shapiro, an arson attack.
What's it about shooting people you don't like?
And then there's last summer.
Take a look at what happened.
And that assassination attempt on then candidate Donald Trump. Now, the Charlie Kirk killing in Utah, leaving Americans stunned at the speed political violence in this country worsens.
In 20 years leading up to 2015, we had 2 incidents of political violence against elected officials. In the 10 years since, we've had 25. The numbers tell the story.
I think we're at a pretty dangerous point right now, inflection point in the United States in terms of political violence.
Amy Pate, who tracks such stuff in the U.S., says the rate of targeted violence this year doubles the rate from a year ago, and it's trending higher. She cites heated political rhetoric, polarization, access to weapons, and the gutting of prevention programs as key factors.
There's a heightened risk for this type of violence that requires some sort of a variety of policy responses.
For now, as they have in the past, U.S. politicians talk.
Thank you all. Everybody ready?
Repeating the message, there's no place for political violence in America. From Democrats,
right now, and it has to end, and we have to join together to condemn it.
And some Republicans.
The time for unity, the time for peace, it is now.
But from the White House, a different tone. Trump is already criticized for stoking the rhetoric on the killing of Kirk.
We have a radical left group of lunatics out there, just absolute lunatics, and we're going to get that problem solved.
As for South Carolina Republican Nancy Mace,
I will not be doing any outdoor events anytime soon.
She now has her own plan of action moving forward.
I will have a firearm on my person all the time.
Paul Hunter reporting. NATO members are on high alert following a Russian drone incursion into Polish airspace. Polish and NATO forces shot down some Russian drones on Wednesday, while others fell to the ground in eastern Poland. As Chris Brown reports, the UN Security Council will convene tomorrow to discuss the issue.
So far, NATO's response to the Russian drone incursion into Poland has been almost exclusively with words, invoking Article 4, consulting, talking, condemning, and investigating precisely what happened. Donald Tusk, the Polish Prime Minister, visited some of the fighter pilots who shot down those drones and promised them, "You will not be alone as you protect Europe. We'll ensure our allies fulfill their commitments." But how exactly should NATO do that? Because the drones are just the latest Russian provocation, which has also included things such as jamming the GPS signals of commercial aircraft and committing sabotage in multiple European countries. Some analysts want to see a strengthening of frontline aircraft and air defenses. Italy's foreign minister called for more economic sanctions.
We stand in full solidarity with Polish people after the unacceptable violation of their airspace. We are and will remain fully engaged with Ukraine. The coalition of the willing has clearly reaffirmed our common goal and commitment to achieve a just and lasting peace in Ukraine and provide strong security guarantees to help preventing future attacks.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says NATO and Ukraine should commit to work together to shoot down all Russian drones, no matter what country they fly over, something NATO has thus far opposed. The concern, though, is that Russia is going to keep pushing, keep probing, keep looking for weakness if there is not a response. All of this is happening on the eve of Zapad, Russia's major war games. In previous years, those games involved up to 200,000 troops doing drills in very strategically sensitive areas, including the Slovaky Gap, which is a bit of Poland between Belarus and Kaliningrad, and it's long been seen as a potential flashpoint for a future conflict between NATO and Russia. And so this event has always been watched carefully, because prior to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, there were also military exercises that ended up being a preamble for that attack. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
Doctors are warning social media is rife with medical misinformation, and it's putting patients' lives at risk. More on how having the correct information can save your life. Stick around. He delighted audiences around the world with his slapstick humor and heartfelt acting. But before he graced the silver screen in movies like Splash, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and Uncle Buck, Canadian actor John Candy made a special stop at Burnaby's Brentwood Shopping Mall. Take a look at this from a CBC News story in December 1976.
Peter, we're talking now with Miss Cease Gorse. Pleased to have you with us, Cease. Cease, what's Christmas like to you? What does Christmas mean to you?
Well, we're enjoying this Christmas a lot more than we've had in the past, because we are down from up north, and we find a lot more variety in the stores. There's a greater field to buy in, and we certainly enjoy this compared to the limited shopping there is in the North Country.
Great. I see you've been shopping. Can we take a look and see what you got here? What'd you get here? Oh, you got a Cookie Monster here. What else did you get? Who's that for?
Oh, that's for the grandson.
That's for the grandson. And what else did you get here?
We got a. Oh, this is a.
Who's that for?
This is for my wife. You know.
Your wife. What else have we got in there?
Quite heavy on the top end.
Gee, she's really some. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be. You don't mind, do you? I hope your wife doesn't mind.
Oh, no, she doesn't mind, because this is a dandy outfit.
And what is this one in here?
Oh,
who's that for?
For my girlfriend.
That's for your girlfriend. So I hope I didn't get you in any trouble at all.
The wife isn't watching, you know.
No, that's the main thing.
No.
Well, Cease, thank you very much for being on. I'm sorry. I hope I didn't get you in any trouble at all. And
no.
Well, back to you, Peter.
Okay, John Candy's life and art is the subject of a new documentary now, John Candy, I Like Me. It was recently screened at the Toronto Film Festival and is slated to run during Vancouver's Film Festival next month. For more, we're joined by VIF's Director of Programming, Curtis Woloschuk, who is in Toronto right now. Curtis, nice to see you. We just saw an old appearance of John Candy here in BC at Brentwood Mall, 1976. He's not often associated with this province, but what's been the reaction to this new documentary in Toronto?
It has been as warmly embraced as you would expect. I mean, I think you see that clip that you just shared, and you're just reminded of like how much joy he brought into our lives, and what a gracious, generous presence he was as well, and just like such infectious comedy. Now,
you've seen this new film, is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. What makes John a compelling character 3 decades after he died?
You know, the documentary almost opens with Dan Aykroyd's eulogy from John's funeral, and it might be Dan Aykroyd's finest moment. It just speaks so beautifully to, I think, what John Candy represented as a cultural figure, but also as a human being. And throughout the documentary, I think you see this the care he gave to younger stars like Macaulay Culkin, and how he also just knew how to share the screen with others as well. And then even, you know, in these clips that we see here that you shared at the beginning, how he can engage with anyone and kind of just bring anyone else into this realm of entertainment as well.
Where does this film, the documentary, succeed, and are there places where you think it perhaps falls short?
I think I don't think it's a failing of the film, but I think it's certainly reverential, and I think that is what it sets out to do, and it succeeds greatly. You know, it's directed by Colin Hanks, Tom Hanks' son, and his father was a co-star with John Candy in Splash, of course, and I think you can see the affection that it's made for, probably from someone who heard many stories of his father sharing the screen with John Candy. And I think what the film does really beautifully is honor a time where Canadian comedy was really at the cutting edge as well. You know, I have friends who've moved to Canada in the last 10 years, and like, one of them asked recently, like, oh, Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara were in something before Schitt's Creek?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, they were in something called SCTV. Like, it was a seminal comedy series. And I think the film not only honors John, but also the community he was part of, and all those people who came up together with him.
Now, we know it got a lot of attention, a big splash at TIFF. Why is it important for VIFF to include it in the festival this year?
I think for ourselves, you know, it follows a kind of legacy of recent years. We've had a few documentaries about Canadian icons. We had the Mr. Dress Up documentary 2 years ago, the Tragically Hip No Dress Rehearsal last year. And I think it's really important to share these moments that bring us together as a community, as Canadians, at a time where we think, a national pride takes on a new importance as well, and to really honor those who were standard bearers for the country in film and television.
May I ask, do you have a favorite John Candy film?
It was probably Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. They hit me at the right time. That is one that I just watched over and over and over again. I think I rented it from a video store for my birthday, and it really stayed with me. But also, when I first moved to Vancouver, a kid at school was like, "Have you ever seen SCTV?" And he introduced me to that as well. So SCTV was very formative for myself, but Planes, Trains, Automobiles is the film for me.
Makes you laugh, makes you cry, all at the same time. Curtis Woloschuk, we appreciate your time and your perspective. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Darius Madavi here with the BC-wide weather forecast. You've got an updated drought map.
That's right. So we're looking at last week's right now, and you'll notice things don't look too bad. We have, well, depends where you are, especially up in the north. We have many places that are in normal or better drought conditions last week. But you'll notice as we transform this into this week, things turn a lot more brown. We no longer have places that are really out of drought conditions. Things are generally dry or worse. In the south, we don't see any real improvement. A few basins drop down, increase a level or two. So not great. In terms of the fire danger, there is a little bit of better news there. Large parts of southern BC are still under low fire danger, but that area is shrinking. This yellow area in the south was a lot bigger earlier this week, and now we're seeing those areas of high fire danger grow quite quickly. The good news is up here, up in the northwest, where we have seen fire danger start to come down. We are going to continue to see rain move down the coast, so I would expect to see the north coast, central coast over the next couple of days, see their fire danger drop. In the central interior, the story continues to be smoke, a lot of smoke coming off that complex of fires. The Caribou region continues to be hit pretty hard by all that smoke. Air quality has not been great there for quite a while now. Prince George has gotten some reprieves at times. That will happen again tomorrow. Early morning and late evening don't look great there tomorrow for the air quality, but during the day it shouldn't be so bad. Some light haze maybe. Down in the southern half of the province, it's mostly smoke coming from a couple fires in southern BC, but mostly coming up from below the border. So places like the Kootenays and maybe the Boundary region might also see a decent amount of haze tomorrow as well. Temperatures are remaining fairly consistent over the next few days in most places, although as we do get into the end of this week, Sunday to be exact, temperatures are going to drop quite quickly in the southern interior from about 28, which is about 6 or 7 degrees above normal in the southern interior. Places like Kelowna are normally about 20, 21 this time of year, dropping all the way down much closer to seasonal on Sunday, though they will start to climb back up again as we get into early next week. A few showers will also be coming to the southern interior late this weekend. Here on the coast, we may also see some light showers on Sunday, but it's definitely not going to be that really consistent, persistent rain that we were hoping for. So, I'm still hopeful for light showers on Sunday, though, here in Vancouver and across much of southwestern BC, and they should break into the interior, too. Again, air quality continues to be a big story. Thunderstorms should mostly be confined to the far southeast, the East Kootenay region tomorrow. In terms of 5-day forecast, Dan, we continue to see that cloud, especially in the morning, and then clearing up a little bit later. Light showers on Sunday, and other than that, things remain a little bit sticky, but that's about it.
Okay, let's hope for that rain.
Yeah.
Thanks, Darius.
Thank you.
The Canadian Medical Association is warning you about the rise of medical misinformation. It says science is under attack online, and that is putting patients' lives at risk. Alison Northcott reports on the concerns and possible countermeasures.
It is safe to say that we need to check other sources.
16-year-old Chloe Casito is a teen fact-checker debunking health myths online.
To show other teenagers online that they are capable of determining whether a claim online is misinformation or if it's correct.
The Canadian Medical Association says false health information is causing serious harm to patients, in a statement warning misinformation is increasingly shaping public discourse, public beliefs, and policy actions.
This is a good example of influencers on TikTok pushing unproven ideas about sunscreen.
Timothy Caulfield, who studies misinformation around science and health, says experts need to speak out.
To stand in solidarity with entities around the world that are really struggling against regressive movements. And of course, the United States is the strongest example of that, but we're seeing it really everywhere.
The CMA points to examples of popular misinformation, including around vaccines, and underscores current evidence shows vaccines do not cause or increase the risk for autism. Dr. Joseph Daheen treats patients in the intensive care unit, but also takes time to talk about his work on social media because he's seen the harms of misinformation firsthand.
I've had a patient die from ignoring her symptoms and had metastatic breast cancer. And I had an elderly gentleman who was brainwashed at the time of COVID, thinking that this didn't exist, and actually died because he refused our care.
Kizito says countering false claims doesn't have to be complicated.
Sometimes all it takes is a Google search. Sometimes all it takes is using a fact-checking website.
The Canadian Medical Association says improving access to primary care would help too, so people can ask their doctor about their health instead of relying on the internet. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
Still to come, he was homeless for 3 years. Then soccer saved his life. We'll bring you one Canadian's journey to the 2025 Homeless World Cup in Norway. You'll want to see this.
I'm Stephen Quinn, and I love living here in Vancouver, BC. It's a city with world-renowned beauty, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows. In our new daily podcast, This is Vancouver, we're exploring the diverse range of issues and stories in this city, the good, the bad, and everything in between, as told by the people who live it every day. Don't miss This is Vancouver, available wherever you get your podcasts, and I'll talk to you soon.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC inbox.
Calling all soccer fans. Don't miss the last Vancouver Rise home game of the regular season at Swangard Stadium on Saturday, September 20th. Come take your shot at a CBC host and share your soccer stories for a chance to win some great prizes. And don't miss out on contests, special series, events, and plenty more with CBC's e-newsletter. Subscribe at cbc.ca/Vancouver inbox right now.
As Canada prepares to compete in the Men's World Cup next year, a different kind of Canadian soccer team has just wrapped up its own tournament.
The 2025 Homeless World Cup, which took place in Norway last month, featured players of no fixed address from around the world. One Canadian player tells the CBC's Kwabena Oduro how his life has changed since he joined the Canadian team.
Exactly, because I have to dive in.
Soccer is one of my favorite sports. It's easy to play pretty much everywhere. Hi, my name is Daniel Teberge. Soccer saved my life on many ways. I was about 2 or 3 years in the street. It was a difficult situation. I tried to get my daughter. I pay a lot for that, you know. I cannot pay my apartment at this time, and I get homeless. Now I play soccer, and I'm the goaltender of the Canadian team on Oslo Homeless World Cup. Very proud to represent my country. When I see the 48 country that was there in Oslo, we was playing soccer pretty much everywhere in the city.
Great save from the Canadian goalkeeper.
The way the Homeless World Cup works is you can only go as a player one time. When you say life-changing, I feel like almost everybody in the program was very involved on a long-term scale. And for our players, just seeing them in that experience, the stopover, you know, the airport, the, hey, give me your passport, where's your passport, you know? It was a really cool experience to just see them get out of this bubble. I'm hoping that this program really opens people's eyes as far as there's a way out. You know, we obviously saw that with all the stories that we learned there, and I think they felt very part of something natural, right? A lot of people going through the same struggles, and they see that evolution of them coming out of it. So I hope that this just shines a light that, you know, whatever you're going through right now, it's not long term, it's not forever.
The situation with the soccer get me up, and now I have a home now. It's very special because that stabilizes your life a lot. My mother was so proud of me, so happy, so grateful for everything that I have. It's very special to have this kind of relationship now with my mother, because I lost it. And when we re-get something that we lost, it's the best thing of the life.
Good for them. Fun fact, in 2011, a group of 13 players from BC went to the Homeless World Cup. So
wow.
A lot of representation.
That's great. How often? Every 4 years?
I would have to double check.
I shouldn't have asked you.
Yeah, that's okay.
Sorry about
that's
that.
all right.
Thanks for being with us tonight on CBC Vancouver News at 6. You can watch this newscast on CBC Gem, YouTube, and our website.
And we'll have your next local news at 11 o'clock, right after the National. Good night.